coach, we're always asking questions. As a leader, we're asking those open-ended questions. Takes time, but that's a sustainable change. So that's why Tony calls his system, this culture, lasting change. It's more sustainable.
Yeah, and it's one of the things that I love about Tony is you'll oftentimes hear him say, it's not me, you know the answer. What he's doing is he's helping people unlock the answer that lies within them. So that's the whole, like, all you need is within you now.
Yeah.
But the reality is most people have the answers. I don't recall who it was that said, but it's like, if your friend starts talking to you and they say, yeah, I'm just wondering about this relationship I'm in. They know. That's why they're having a conversation about wondering what people that are in an amazing relationship don't have a conversation about getting out of the relationship, right? Because it's amazing. So people know we put all these roadblocks up. So when you're influencing, your opportunity is it's a lot easier for you to see it because it's not you. And so it's asking those questions to get them to that space where they can see it then too, where they can uncover it on their own because then it's theirs. Right? They own it. It's their power. Versus me, like I'm not the problem solver. I'm a great coach because I ask great questions. And you had a follow-up question. I don't know if you still do, and then you also.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Lisa. Go ahead. No, it's good.
I just want to just talk a little bit about like what you were just saying at the very end about your clients about like you do this wheel of life, and I'm looking at it, and what I really want to do, and this actually happened to me at Date with Destiny, where like, okay, I'm coming out of this. I know my positive catalyst, my primary goal, make things better. What are the 4 things I want to do? I want to work out more. I want to start a business. I want to be an expert. And boom, build better relationships. And it was like, and in the process of the last 6 months, I've made incredible strides. But I also had to let go of this expert thing because I'm Asian and there's a lot of stress around being an expert.
Yeah.
And so now I'm in this weird gratified.
So listen, because that's the story.
Right, and so okay, I'm like clearly
she's telling a story. That's a belief.
Right, and so now I'm in this. Now I'm doing like a lot of radical acceptance Buddhist meditation, and I'm here specifically to try to get back into that beautiful state of action. And I'm having conflict because I need to be radically accepting of being as opposed to constantly doing. So I look at my wheel and I'm just like, gosh, this is I don't know what to do with the wheel. And so I feel like a conflict of how to take massive action where it is and be in a beautiful state and radically accept. And there's a lot of
Well, what if it's both instead of one or the other, right? What if it's like, what I hear you saying is and this is why this is so powerful, because it's always this, is you're like, well, I'm either going to be a human doing, and I've got to be perfect, or I have to have radical acceptance. Like I have to either be here or here.
Right.
What if it's both?
Right.
What if it's like you're doing and accepting at the same time, like it's all working together?
Right. Could be.
Maybe.
It could be. It feels like in conflict. I feel like in conflict because, again, like, and I feel more tongue-tied than I typically do.
Okay, so can we coach you?
Yeah.
Yes. So
Theoretically.
it's also language. So this, and you might be thinking, well, Steve, you're fucking us up because you're talking about it's not achievement, it's fulfillment, but now we're going to do results. Now we're going to focus on goals. That's achievement, right? So, and what if because language is everything, right?
Right.
Change your language, change your life.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And so, and if you hear Lisa's words, radical acceptance, which is a great book. You reading the book?
Yeah.
Yeah. But what if it was instead of like, where are you gonna, like, what's the result in 4 months? Ask a question that supports your new role, your new identity, right? So instead of having it achieving in 4 months, how can you reframe it so it's more of accepting?
I see.
So what would that look like?
In terms of work?
In terms of any of this. So it supports your new identity and it's not this perfection, hard, I gotta be here in 4 months.
Yeah. How I might reframe it is reframe it is to I think, elevate my social network to then support new ideas.
Listen to that
And
language,
to-
elevate my social network. Does that resonate with
Yeah,
you? Write that down.
To elevate my social network to help resonate more interactions around work ideas, because I have many ideas and I want to understand the viability and verify that to then be able to continue to streamline efforts into that area.
Beautiful capture.
Wow, how will that feel when you're doing that?
Awesome,
It'll feel awesome.
peaceful.
So peaceful,
Peaceful
awesome.
and
How else will it
focused.
feel? Focus,
Yeah.
focus, peaceful, awesome. How else?
With direction and strategy, and I think that, and with momentum, because I feel currently very much I feel very controlling. I feel like I'm monitoring and watching, as opposed to in the flow, which is a familiar place, but I miss it. I'm slightly nostalgic for that flow again.
Yeah. So everybody here, that those were emotions, those are states. She's talking about states. So that's the interesting piece, right? She's saying if I achieve balance, but also action, then I can feel fulfillment. I'll feel flow
Right,
versus just feeling flow. Like,
being conditional.
yeah, what would life be like if I just felt flow no matter what I was doing?
Right here, right now.
Oh,
That'd be easier.
yes.
Maybe, but it's probably not perfect. I don't know if it's written down, but it's one of those things. It's one of those neat things, and it's just cool, right? Because oftentimes, like, you'll hear all these things that have to happen to feel a certain way. Well, it's oftentimes a shortcut to feel that way first, and then go start working on these other things.
Yeah,
Right?
so, yeah. Like a lot of people would feel that I need to reach a certain finance or have a certain amount in the bank before I can work on my emotional spirituality
Yeah.
or something else.
Then
Yeah,
I'll feel comfortable.
yeah, I'll do
That'll
that
feel
then, once I'm established here.
Or
Or I can give back once I'm at this place.
Yeah, a real popular one is like, I'm lonely and sad, but once I get into an amazing relationship, then I'll feel great. Which is that's not down. You know?
So then we start to listen to, like, what are the rules that you have? What are the rules that you have on yourself that either limit you, that keep you stuck from growing, right? Like, so what's the evidence? So the clients that we have, the ones that are fulfilled and progressing in life, Chris and I, each one, and this is where we were in Dallas training the next round of Tony coaches. I think, how many do we have left in the class?
It's top secret information.
So we started with like 500 applicants. We got down to, I think we did down
There's
to
1,000
50.
applicants. It was a little over 1,000.
This one was over 1,000?
A little over
So we do a
1,000.
couple academies a year. This one was a little bit over 1,000.
Yeah.
Who you texting, man?
I'm
Do you
just
train the
letting
leadership
everybody know that you're giving out
You
confidential
train the
information.
leadership academy?
The leaders? No, they're, so
The
they're.
leadership academy, you teach at the leadership
No,
academy.
we don't do leadership. So Leadership Academy, so Tad oversees that and he opens it up for senior trainers, so crew that want to support. Yeah. Chris, where was I going?
How many
How
people?
many are left?
You got
Yes, okay, so
Many
You
are
saw me
left.
taking pictures, you got nervous.
you got nervous. So 1,000 applicants and well, basically there's 36 in the class right now that we're going through the training.
I can't confirm that.
And what we were teaching them, showing them, was that in every one of our coaching calls, we always start with a celebration, right? Right. So they're 30-minute coaching calls. We always ask our clients, "What's a celebration? What's great? What's great? What's great? What's going on? What's fantastic for you in your life?" Why do you think we start with that question, by the way?
To improve the state.
To elevate them, to elevate their state, because change happens in state. Right? Change happens in state. That's why we're always jumping up and down. There's music. Tony Robbins' brand is an immersive brand, just like our coaching. We have to get our clients in state first. We have to be in state first ourselves when we're connecting with others. My point being, the clients that we have that are on top of the world, that have this fulfillment inside and outside, they're always celebrating. They have very little rules of what needs to happen. right? The ones that are suffering, they got these big rules like, oh, I have to lose like 30 pounds in 30 days, or like I have to profit $1 million or whatever it may be. They got these strict rules, so you want to keep your rules simple, so practical. Like I woke up today, I'm grateful, I'm blessed. Like think about just maybe in the next 5 casinos in a row here in Vegas, maybe someone didn't wake up today. I woke up, I'm fucking grateful, I'm thankful, right? So the ones that are enjoying life daily are the ones that have very less rules.
Well,
Yeah.
how does that work? If you don't have rules, that you end up in a messy, unorganized
Great.
life. Doesn't
So,
it happen then?
so what's your name again?
Besa.
Besa. So now, Besa, we want to hear, well, how do you define what a rule is? What's your definition of a rule?
Have a strict structure of how you do things daily to achieve, or
And how does that feel
have
for
a-
you
How does it feel? What the rule?
when you have the strict structure?
I don't mind the structure, but sometimes I feel like I keep trying with the structure. Somehow I find myself going in empty circles.
Why is that?
Maybe partially because I don't believe in myself, and then maybe because I have a reason not to believe
So
in
she
myself.
just answered her own question. So write that down.
Did I?
You don't believe in
Do
yourself.
you believe in yourself?
No, I know I don't believe in myself, but I don't know how to.
So anything, anything
prove
else you
that.
tell me now doesn't fucking matter because you don't believe in yourself.
Oh.
So you're fucked. Right? Right? Anything you tell me now, it's just a bunch of blah, 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 da, da, da. You don't believe in yourself.
So how do you work on to improve?
How do I work or
Not
how do you work?
Because you've done your work, but
I'm
saying,
still- I'm a work in
How would I
progress.
work on that?
Say it again?
How would I work on improving myself? Okay.
This is it.
Yeah.
You pointed at me.
Go.
Yeah, so it's state story strategy. So the story might be that I don't believe in myself. It gives you a feeling of state.
Plus, how many just show of hands have that same limiting belief, I don't believe in myself? Put your hands
In-
up.
in
I've
some
had it.
area.
I-
Some
so
areas,
at times-
I've had it. At times my hands up as well. Okay.
Yeah. So it's so great because we've all experienced this, right? Like Tony did this with day are we on 3?
He used to spend 6 hours just on these 3 words. And we told him, like, okay, we gotta tighten it up. And I think how many hours did he spend on this yesterday? Or day
I
one?
think it was an hour or something.
He's gotten it tighter, but this is a foundation as well, his psychology.
Because the funny thing is, state story strategy, these 3 things, this is the basis to everything. You've been around this a lot. It's super, super simple. And in its simplicity, I believe it's simple because Tony teaches things in a very simple way so you can grasp it right away. But the fascinating thing is this is the make or break for everything. So, how do you define a breakthrough? You guys have heard this. How do you define a breakthrough? What do
When you
consider
see
a breakthrough?
something that you
So,
haven't seen before.
you see something that you haven't seen before, and it even says, "Did you have a breakthrough today?" So when you see something that you haven't seen before, how else? Like, what would you say a breakthrough is? A breakthrough is when you see something that you haven't seen before. How else would you describe it or define it?
You realize something that has happened, that there's it's right there. Usually they're pretty obvious.
Usually they're pretty obvious once you
Once
see
you
it.
fi- once you
Once
see them.
it. So what Tony says, write this down. Tony says a breakthrough is a moment in time when the impossible becomes possible.
Moment in time when the impossible.
Yeah, so it's a moment in time. You see what he's saying, when the impossible becomes possible. So here's what's so cool about this, and we're jumping all around here, which is great, I like it. And when you want the moment in time, that's what's so neat about a breakthrough. The moment in time when the impossible becomes possible, it's just built in these 3 things. You have to shift one or more of these 3 things. So that's why I love the real life, because anything that you decide you want something different in life. I want to feel differently about achievement. I want to feel more at peace. I want to believe in myself. I want to get my finances squared away. All you have to have is a breakthrough. The only reason that you haven't yet is because you haven't had that breakthrough. So what becomes really powerful when you really understand state story strategy, all you have to change is one or more of these three things, and that'll create a breakthrough. So you can shift strategy. So right now, as an example, and in the past, I love that you said that too, and I think almost everybody raised their hands. But it's like, is there a time that you haven't believed in yourself in a specific space? That's not a new thing. Everybody is there at some point, or can be there. Well, there's a strategy for that. There's lots of strategies for that. It could be gaining more skill. It could be doing incantations. It could be meditation. It could be just, what did they say? Fake it until you make it. Those are strategies. But the challenge is, like, strategies, great. Steve could just tell you strategies, or like you were sharing earlier, I could just tell somebody, I'm going to just give them the advice. I oftentimes tell the story about somebody special in my life that's related to me that seems to live in a state of depression. And so I could give her all the strategies. I could give her lots of advice, like, hey, stepmom, did I say that out loud? Hey, you're depressed. And when you do these strategies, that's going to shift for you. But then I'd just be a jerk because I haven't asked questions and she hasn't invited me to help her with advice.
Yeah. Think about that, because like Tony uses this example, like everyone has a smartphone or everyone has a phone. Like there's no shortage of strategies in today's society. And actually, in fact, we have more access to technology in our phones by this than past presidents. So it's never going to be a strategy issue. Right?
Yeah.
So Tony talks about the number one issue in North America is obesity. 70% of the population is obese. And then he goes on to say, well, is there a shortage of personal trainers?
No.
Or gyms? Is there a shortage of diets? No. So it's never going to be a strategy issue. He says, if you can be running east looking to see a sunset, and you really want to, you're passionate, you're enthused, you really want to see that sunset, but you're running east.
Strategy is wrong.
Are you going to get there? Are you going to see a sunset? No, you got the wrong strategy. So strategy does matter, and it's a very small piece of it.
Because the challenge is typically not that people aren't doing strategy. I always like Tony Circles. Not that people aren't doing strategy.
You just want to use that marker.
I did. So nice. But it's not that people don't know the strategy. It's just that they don't have a story that supports the strategy.
Right there.
Yeah.
Gotta have a story, that supports the strategy.
Yeah. And so strategy is real straightforward. That's something that you do. Story is what you tell yourself about what's possible or what's not possible. If I tell myself the story of I can't be fulfilled or at peace unless I'm taking action, but then also my story is that I'm in conflict because if I'm taking too much action, I can't be at peace. That story is going to hold me back from ever being in flow, from ever being in the state of flow. Right? So story is really important too. Story's made up. That's the fascinating thing.
Mm-hmm.
The story's
It's made up.
completely made up.
So it's
Positive.
whatever.
It's you make it up.
It's your reality. It's what you believe.
Yeah.
Right?
One of the examples Tony will often share is he could take two people that grew up with the exact same circumstances, possibly, I think he uses something extreme like being abused as children. Mm-hmm. And then they both grow up and one person has the story of, I'm abused, I've had challenges, I'm gonna drink, I'm worthless, I'm this, I'm that, and that's how they live their life because that's their story. And then somebody who went through the same challenges, they have the story like, hey, I was raised like that, never again. I'm going to make it my life to change the world and make sure this doesn't happen to anybody else, and I'm going to be the best family member and parent and whatnot.
Which is my story.
Yeah.
The alternate.
Mm-hmm.
Stories made up, positive or negative. That's the crazy thing about stories. So that's really cool, I think. Because if you don't like what's going on, change the story. Mm-hmm. But the reason that we don't necessarily stay there either, we always go to state, because the challenge is if I tell you your story stinks, like, hey, you're sitting at home talking about you're depressed, you're not using the strategies I told you, smiling in the mirror 3 minutes a day, because that actually makes you feel better. But when you're depressed, you don't want to do it, right? You don't want to incorporate the strategy. Or if I come and tell you, you know what, you've got a phenomenal life. You just aren't seeing it. You've got family that cares about you. You've got all this stuff. That's me trying to shift a story, but the person's not going to shift because their state's off. Because they can't even incorporate or envision this new story unless they're in an empowering state. So that's why we always go state first.
And this is the triad, right? So this comes down to
One more circle.
one more circle. This is gonna come down to triad.
Yeah, so you always go state first, and that's kind of the neat thing, and one of the examples that somebody was sharing here in this room was like, hey, when all of these things happen, that's the story, like when all these strategies happen, and when this happens, then I can feel a certain way, versus going, wait a second, we create this is the foundation of Tony's work. Why not just feel that way now?
Now,
Doesn't mean we're still not going to work on story and we're not going to implement new strategies, but you always start here first because then everything else is easier.
I'll share another example. So there's Chet Holmes. Anyone familiar with Chet Holmes? He passed away, but he was one of Tony's business partners, and he wrote a great book, The Ultimate Sales Machine. In Tony's catalog of his products, there's Money Masters. He interviews Chet Holmes, a great business mind. And Chet Holmes, in that book, he shares this example of these two shoe salesmen. And they fly to a village in Africa, and they're going to sell these shoes, right? So these two shoe salesmen, they get off the bus and they go and go down to the village, and they're looking around. And the one shoe salesman, he's looking around and he notices the people in the village, they're not wearing any shoes, right? So he's looking and they're not wearing any shoes, and right away he's like, what the fuck? I can't believe they sent me here. Like they don't need shoes. They're fine, they're happy. They don't have shoes, right? So he calls back to home camp, right, headquarters. He's like, you guys are dumb, you guys are wasting our time. Get us out of here, you sent us to the wrong place. These guys, clearly you guys messed up in our sales place. You guys are screwing up the budget, get me out of here, right? That was his story, right? Now, the other salesman, on the other end of the spectrum, what do you think he saw? Opportunity, absolutely. He's looking around, so Chris talked about perception and meaning. He looked around, he saw the same thing, different mindset though, right? No one's wearing shoes. What did he do? He dropped to his knees, looked up, thank you God, this is awesome, right? Everyone needs shoes. Why? Because they don't have shoes. Called headquarters, he goes send half a container because we're gonna sell a lot. It's going to be a good Christmas. We're going to make money, and we're going to make a difference in these people's lives, right? The story, because he changed his story, his mindset, that's mindset, he accessed strategy. Here's another one, and then I'm just thinking about this. I don't think I shared this, I might have shared this with you before, it's been a few years. One of my clients, I believe he was about 58 years old, from the UK, and so we do Skype audio sessions, right? And our first call is like this welcome introduction call where we ask questions about our client, and we take down some notes, and I share a little bit about myself, and then we set up our official first call, which is about an hour and a half. And in that introduction call, he told me that he just did a treatment for his prostate. He had prostate cancer. And so he's like, the results are going to come back in 4 to 6 weeks. And so, we spoke for a bit and we scheduled our first session. Well, by the time a couple weeks went by, we had our first official session, he told me that the test results came back. Test results came back, and the last treatment he had failed. And the doctors gave him 6 months to live, right? And he went on, he got a couple of different doctors' professional opinions, and all three said the same thing, that he had 6 months to live. And he enrolled in our coaching program for a year of coaching, which is 36 sessions, 3 sessions a month. And so, and when he told me I got 6 months to live, as the coach, as a mentor coach for Tony, I went right into my head. Like, holy fuck, right? Like what? Like, and at that time, since then, it's unfortunate, but I've lost a couple of people I know dearly with cancer. But back then, I didn't know, right? And I was like, oh my God, like, what is he gonna do? What does he want to do? What would I do? 6 months to live, right? Can you imagine? And it's happening very quickly in my mind. I'm thinking, like, does he want to like take the money? Like, I can call the director, we'll give him the money back. Does he want to travel, give it to family? You know, does he want to drink his life away? I don't know, right? And I came back and I was asking myself, what would I do? I got back to being present and I asked him, what do you want to do, right? And he goes, well, you know, I purchased a year of coaching. They're giving me 6 months. He goes, it's unfortunate, and I think it's true because the way I'm feeling. What I want to do, instead of doing 3 sessions a month, I want to speed it up and I want to see you 3 times a week, right? And as a coach, I'm getting in state, I'm getting excited, like, okay, we got this, right? I'm gonna help him, I'm gonna support him through all his coaching objectives and, you know, really like love on him, right? And I want to mention one thing, when they come to coaching, they fill out a 5-page questionnaire, right? About different challenges and outcomes that they want. Well, he had a book. Like, this guy had so many problems that he wanted to work on in a year of coaching. So I'm thinking, we're gonna annihilate all this stuff, right? As we began coaching, what do you think happened to those problems?
Go away.
They all went away. They all went away. Why?
Because they were not that important to begin with.
Yeah, because he changed his story. He changed the story of his life, and because of that, strategy didn't come into place. Story changed everything. And the reason probably why this is true for me, I'm sharing this, and he's passed on. He passed away. Is that the family still keeps in touch with me, right? The family still keeps in touch with me, sharing with me how their lives were impacted because he changed his story. All the people he had resentments against and all the people he hated and thought he needed to fix them, they were fine when he became well. So much so, I reached out to the coaching director and I'm like, give him his money back or I'll pay for his coaching. Why? All he wanted to do in those 30-minute sessions was to celebrate. Remember what I said earlier? Get rid of your rules. Change your story, change your life, change your language, everything changed. So this is, Biza, you have a story. You have a story. Does it empower you? If you want to write this question down. Does the story you have right now, does it empower you? Does it light you up? Does it inspire you? Does your story move you? Because none of this, the work that you guys do here, none of this will matter unless you have a story, like Chris said, that's going to support it. You guys already know how to do it. This is the how, right? Strategy is the how. Strategy comes last. This is this, and this is this. Like, this is the why, the purpose, and then we go to state.
Yeah.
The story is the why.
Yeah, these two would be the why. This is like the purpose.
Okay.
Yeah, and oftentimes when Tony shares this too, and it's important to think about it, is this is the mechanics, this is the psychology. You know, this is the psychology piece. And it's so basic. I love it in its simplicity, because the reality is if you want to change anything in your life, all you have to do is go, oh, I don't like this thing here, so what is it that I need to shift? What of these, one or more? The only caution is, like Steve was sharing, is most people just go to strategy. They go to strategy, they go to strategy, they go to strategy, and they're frustrated, and they try new strategies and new strategies and new strategies, instead of tapping into some of these here. So it does become really cool, because oftentimes part of the benefit is we do get to work with really successful people. And then we go into their companies, and oftentimes the companies are really successful. But we're coming in and we're sharing this, and people are sitting in the audience going, life's pretty freaking good. Like, I've just hit my sales targets every month for the last 6, or like whatever that is. And that's the beauty of this environment, is oftentimes people may have a challenge, but oftentimes it's like taking an already amazing life and making it even better.
2 millimeters.
Yeah, it's like that 2 millimeter shift or that little bit of growth. But what I always tell them is like, okay, so just look at anywhere that you're not quite happy with the results, or maybe you're happy with the results, but you want it to be even better. And then ask yourself the question, what would need to shift to make it even better? What is even better first? And then what of these three things or more would make that shift? And typically it's gonna fall over here, most oftentimes. And then the state piece, which is really, I think people sleep on it because we hear it so much with Tony. Tony focuses on beautiful state, you go to UPW and he does triad. The whole first day here is all about the state of the gladiator, right? The psychology piece. But really, triad, my belief is, if people actually mastered this piece, then I think you were sharing with me, somebody focuses on this a lot, or has in the past with this group, because it's so damn powerful. Most oftentimes, it's just about your state. It's all about state. You know, it's funny, there was somebody here participating, and they came up today, so we're 3 days in, and they were sharing, they were like, I just don't, it very well could be somebody that would stand up, because it's the typical thing is, I just don't understand the concepts of what we're talking about. I get it, but it doesn't apply in my business. So she's got all kinds of strategy. She's hearing amazing story in there, but her story is, it doesn't apply to my business. And as she's talking to the gentleman who's working to help her with it, the trainer, what I can hear, and I'm sure what the trainer hears, is she's in a disempowering state.
Shitty state.
She's in a shitty state.
She tells herself a shitty story. She's hearing world-class strategies from Tony, and it's like,
They don't work.
They don't work. And sometimes I fuck with my clients, right? We have fun under rapport. I say that under rapport where they're like, how do I do it? How to do it? And I'll share a strategy. And what do you think they come to the next session? What do they want? Another strategy. Give them another strategy. What do they want? A new strategy. They haven't done shit. Right, so in each day one of every one of Tony's personal development programs, I'm sure you guys have them or heard them. He says 70% or 80% of people will buy personal development programs and they don't finish them. They're always looking for, and I was one of them. I had like 12 books on the go. Even to this day, my wife doesn't allow me to go to a bookstore and buy any more books. She's like, finish the books you already have, because I'm always looking at how to do it. So break this down really quick. This is coming to me. Is people come with this thing about how to do it, You want to spend time on who will I become? Who will I become? Versus the how. So forget the how, it's who. It's not the how, it's the who.
And who is really the state? Sometimes they'll call it identity, but the triad.
Yep.
What's the state? What's the physiology? What's the focus and beliefs? And what's the empowering language? And it really is so damn simple. It makes people want to pound their head against the wall because it's so simple, and the simplicity can make it complex with people because you want to make it so much more challenging. You know, it's even, I have a coach because I believe in coaching, and I'm like to think I'm an expert at the tools and technologies that we share and the strategies and all of that stuff. And oftentimes I get on the phone with my coach and I just need them to remind me of what I already know, right? Like the strategy, I've got strategies coming out the yin yang. But I need my coach to hop on with me, remind me, like, dude, you're not in state.
Yeah.
Like you're showing, I have a phenomenal relationship with my wife. And when I have challenges, right, like things aren't working, I get on the phone and I'm just like, wow. And my coach gets me back into state. And once I'm in state, I'm like, holy shit. I'm not being who I need to be. That's why I'm having challenges.
Yeah.
I'm not in state. And it's fucking simple. And I get off the phone and I'm like, I'm half elated and I'm half pissed. Right? Because I'm like, I know that. And what oftentimes happens, and this has everything to do with and nothing to do with what we're talking about, But what oftentimes happens is the week of that challenge, like I'm in this suffering state, I'm having this challenge with my partner, it's me. I'm coaching my ass off on relationships with everybody else, yelling at them about what I need to be doing.
That's the universe, man.
Yeah, I'm like this, and then this, and I get really passionate and excited about it, right? Because I'm talking to myself. And then I get on the phone with my coach, and it's like, state. He just hits me over the head with the state hammer, gets me into state, and I'm like, holy shit. It's me.
Right.
It's never anything else. It's me. Because then I can do all kinds of different strategies, and I can create a more empowering story. But when I'm in the shitty state, none of this is working. Doesn't matter how much I know. I've got amazing relationship books. Tony's got amazing relationship products, and I know all of them because I train them.
Mm.
But when I'm off here, this is off. Doesn't really matter. It doesn't matter, and it makes me laugh and cry a little bit on the inside.
What are some of the ways that you guys change your state?
That's great.
Alcohol. No, just kidding.
We're in Vegas.
Alcohol and gambling. No, I think the biggest piece is the more you practice it, the easier it becomes to shift. One of the stories that I oftentimes share, because it's like, the state is so powerful, we're always doing it. You're always in a state. You're always in a state. Sometimes it just sucks. And one of the things is, and one of the things that I'll oftentimes share, this is a personal story, is I've been married in the past, it wasn't great. I'm married now, it's amazing. It's phenomenal. Worlds apart. It's because of who I am and how I show up. And a while back, my partner was working overnight, and I was leaving town. I was actually leaving town early in the morning to do one of these, not do one of these, but do a business training. And I was sick. I had a man cold. I don't know if anybody's ever experienced the men have experienced a man cold, but I was like really sick.
That's deep suffering, man.
I was deep suffering, yeah. I felt like I had the flu. My partner's a physician, and she was like, you don't have the flu unless you get tested for the flu. You definitely don't have the flu. And I'm like, no, I'm really sick. But anyways, I gotta take my dog to the dog sitter because she's working overnight. I'm leaving town in the morning at like 4 a.m. and I'm not feeling well. Did I mention that?
Yeah, man.
Okay. Yeah, so my physiology's off, right? I'm not feeling well. So I got this big dog. I live downtown Chicago.
As he's sharing this story, you start to notice where
Where
his
I'm living
patterns.
here.
These are all patterns.
So physiology's totally off.
Yes.
It's late at night. My physiology's off. I've got to get up at 4 o'clock in the morning. So my focus is on how I'm going to be unrested. Now I've got to go do a full day of on-site training with a group of 65 people,
Yeah.
right? So that's all happening, and I have to take the dog to the dog sitter, which I don't know where the dog sitter is. So my wife texts me an address. I get in the car with the dog. I live in Chicago. It's like almost winter, so it's raining. So I got a 65-pound bulldog, not bulldog, she's a pit bull bulldog mix. So I'm carrying her because she doesn't walk in the rain. She's sensitive. So I'm carrying her through the rain to the address, and I'm walking down the block, and I can't find the frickin' address. So I don't feel good. I've got my dog that's afraid of the rain. I can't find the house, and so it starts to hail. True story. So now I'm getting hailed on with the 65-pound dog. I don't feel good. I get back in my car. I drive back home. I text my wife, and she texts me back, and she says, sorry, I sent you the wrong address. Sorry, I sent you the wrong address. And of course, I'm like, in my mind, I'm starting to walk around my house now. My state, my physiology's off. Now my focus is, what the fuck? Like, this is